the door, I'm home at last, and I'm soaking through and through. And then you handed me a towel, and all I see is you. And even if my house falls down now, I wouldn't have a clue, because you're near me. And I want to thank you for giving me the best day of my life. And just to be with you.
This is Nationwide 90 FM, owned and operated by Nationwide News Network Limited. We broadcast from our studios at 14 Ocean Boulevard in the Digicel Center, downtown Kingston, Jamaica. Transmitting on the FM 90 band, 90.3 from Peters Rock in St. Andrew and Murphy Hill in St. Anne. Serving Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, St. Anne, parts of Clarendon, St. Mary and St. Thomas. 90.5 from Huntley in Manchester, transmitting to St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Manchester, Clarendon, rural St. Andrew and parts of St. Thomas. And 90.7 from Cooper's Hill in St. Andrew and Flower Hill in St. James. Serving Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, sections of Trelawney, Kingston, St. Catherine, Clarendon, St. Mary, Portland and St. Anne. Nationwide 90 FM also broadcasts on YouTube and Nationwide 90 FM Live too. RevoNews.ai and on Flow on channel 916. Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
6 o'clock. From the studios of Nationwide Radio, morning radio the right way. It's Nationwide This Morning. A very good morning to you. I'm Tawna Thomas. Coming up in the news at 6 for this morning, Tuesday, January 6, 2026. Residents of man fatally shot by police in Manchester dispute JCF's account of incident. Court of Appeal head wants judges to exercise humility on the bench. New Chancellor of New York Public Schools, Jamaican Kamar Samuels, lists literacy improvement among his plans. In regional news, Belize aligns with CARICOM on Venezuela crisis. In international news, Venezuelan opposition leader Machado praises U.S. action against Maduro. In sports, Arnott Gardens crush Cavalier 3-0 in JPL action at Tony Spalding Complex on Monday. The details after the break.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Catch the first news of the day. A comprehensive package of local, international, sports, and business news. The news at 6 on Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Relatives of at least one of the men killed by the police in St. Tullys near Porus, Manchester on Monday say he was not a gunman. The deceased are identified as Byron McDonald, otherwise called Gary, Teshan Porteous, and Rashid Johnson. McDonald's mother, Cherie Samuels, gave her account of the incident.
Oh God, have mercy, Father God. The police they kill me, Pitney, and I got talk about a shootout. How shootout when a them go in a house, go kill the Pitney and put gun in a car. How they if you do that? Come. I see them come here, so. Byron McDonald. Come to
Right.
me.
Me not talking, me can't do this.
Me talk to him last night. Me call him and him a talk and he say, Mommy, what you cook today? Me say, me cook pork. He say, me know 2 meat. You normally cook. Me say, 1 meat me cook today, Gary. He say, Mommy, you know, say me should have come for dinner today. Me say, why you never come? So me say, you eat? He say, no. A fast food you have to catch and eat. Fast food. So me say, why you there? He say, Mommy, me sit down in a car.
Relatives say McDonald relocated to Manchester due to the impact of Hurricane Melissa in October.
You know the reason why he moved and come here, sir? St. Elizabeth.
St. Elizabeth,
he
mash
up.
up.
Your uncle.
My uncle live near to him.
And if I never did this, you know, there St. Elizabeth, you was St. Elizabeth mash up. That's the only reason why he's here.
Cause them know everything. Come over here, so I want justice.
Relatives of a slain man, Byron McDonald. A remarkable transformation. That's how the Minister of National Security and Peace, Dr. Horace Chang, reacted to news that the number of murders recorded in 2025 came in at 673. Not only is that number the lowest annual murder tally since 1994, it's also only the second time in the last 25 years that fewer than 1,000 murders have been recorded over a calendar year. Dr. Chang says that the police have excelled in using the resources given to them by government.
This represents more than a 40% reduction year over year, with over 470 lives spared when compared with 2024. These are individuals who remain with their families, contributing to their communities and to national development. Compared to the 2009 peak of 1,683 murders, this represents a 60% decline, or more than 1,000 lives saved. Through strategic direction, policy support, and sustained investment by the Ministry of National Security and Peace, the Jamaica Constabulary Force led a remarkable transformation that produced the progress we now celebrate.
Dr. Horace Chang, Minister of National Security and Peace. Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of crime, Richard Stewart, says the decline in murders between 2024 and 2025 is the most substantial since the period covering 1980 and 1981. Murders fell from 889 in 1980, a general election year, to 490 in 1981. That was a 45% decline. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says his government will intensify its focus on peace-building initiatives in 2026.
We will maintain our vigilant posture against gangs. But we also recognize that violence has become the first resort in too many homes, too many relationships, too many communities. In 2026, our national security strategy will focus heavily on peace building in homes, in schools, and in communities, as we work to purge our society of violent tendencies and dysregulated behaviors.
Jamaica has recorded 3 consecutive years of a decline in homicides, 8% in 2023, 19% in 2024, and 42% in 2025. The Prime Minister says that the gains being made in the fight against violent crime are due to the contribution of multiple stakeholders.
Though approximately 670 Jamaicans were murdered last year, still far too many, we give thanks for the more than 470 lives spared compared to 2024. This is the lowest number of murders in 31 years and well below the psychological barrier of 1,000. This achievement belongs to all of us. It proves that Jamaica can overcome problems once considered impossible to solve, just as we achieved the lowest unemployment in our history, the lowest debt to GDP ratio in 30 years, and no new taxes for the last 10 budgets.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is reminding the public that the influenza or flu vaccine is available free of cost at health centers across the island. The ministry says the reminder serves as part of ongoing efforts to protect public health, particularly as flu cases normally spike during December to March and may continue into May. Influenza is a highly contagious viral illness that spreads easily through coughing, sneezing, and close personal contact. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Baseso McKenzie says influenza should not be taken lightly, as it can lead to serious complications such as pneumonia, blood infections, and seizures in children. She adds that the illness can also worsen existing heart or lung diseases. Within the public health system, the flu vaccine is prioritized for specific groups, including healthcare workers, children and elderly persons with chronic illnesses, pregnant women, individuals who are institutionalized or in state care, and other frontline workers. However, all members of the public are being encouraged to take the flu vaccine. The ministry is also encouraging private healthcare providers to source influenza vaccines through private distributors to ensure even wider access for members of the general population. President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Marva McDonald Bishop, has called on judges to exercise judicial humility. She made the call at the swearing-in ceremony for 6 members of the judiciary ahead of the start of the Hillary term at King's House on Monday.
What is judicial humility? It is when judges recognize the limits of their power and knowledge, staying open to different perspectives and willing to reconsider their position. This is a critical characteristic, particularly necessary for the appellate tribunal, where a judge invariably does not sit alone. Judicial humility is about balancing the role with restraint, respecting and upholding the roles and rights of others, and prioritizing fairness over personal views.
Those justices sworn in are Lorna Shelley Williams and Carolyn Ty Powell, who will serve as acting judges of appeal from January 12 to March 27, 2026. Kamar Henry Anderson and Chester Crooks will serve as acting puisne judges effective January 7. Christine McNeil and Yvette Wentworth Miller will serve as acting masters in chambers effective January 7 to March 27, 2026. Justice McDonald Bishop congratulated the new members of the bench on their appointment. She urged them to embrace the continued evolution in their thinking and learning.
Embracing the perspective that you are a learning judge rather than the learned judge will serve to foster a lifelong commitment to growth and development. Judicial humility stands as a cornerstone of a fair and evolving justice system. By acknowledging their own limitations and embracing the perspectives and rights of others, judges reinforce the dignity and humanity of all who appear before them. This humility does not diminish the authority of the bench, rather, it elevates it.
Justice Marva McDonald Bishop, President of the Court of Appeal. Meanwhile, Chief Justice Brian Sykes praised the 6 appointees for their merit-based election to higher office.
Permit me to extend my heartiest congratulations to the judges who were sworn in. You are here on merit and not as a reward for long service. It is vital that you bring to that post the skill, the dedication, and the requisite humility, knowing full well that decisions that you make there not just affect the immediate parties to the proceedings, but could also affect the law for many years to come. And I have no doubt that you will acquit yourselves there properly.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes, he was speaking at the swearing-in ceremony for new judges at King's House on Monday. Senior Fellow at the Shorenstein Center of the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, Professor Richard Parker, says Donald Trump's motives may not be entirely pure following the capture by U.S. forces of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores. Speaking on Nationwide on Monday, Professor Parker suggested that one of Trump's key objectives is to ensure that Venezuelan migrants currently residing in the United States are returned home as part of a wider effort to reduce refugee and asylum numbers.
I don't feel that Donald Trump's chief focus is to confront evil in Caracas. I think that there are at least a couple of other layers that we need to consider, one of which is he has made clear that he wants the several 100,000 Venezuelans who were admitted to the United States under special relief because of the Maduro regime returned to Venezuela. I don't think that augurs well for the human rights situation in Venezuela. One can certainly outline the number of abuses under the Maduro regime, but I don't see how this new regime is going to be radically different. I would not for a moment try to present Donald Trump as a man on the white horse who has come to rescue Venezuela from its misery. That's not what this is about.
On January 3, U.S. forces launched what Trump described as a large-scale strike against the Venezuelan military infrastructure, leading to Maduro's capture and his transfer to the United States to face charges including narcoterrorism and cocaine importation conspiracy. During a press conference on Saturday, President Trump declared that the United States would oversee Venezuela's future governance. He also said Venezuela, which controls the world's largest proven oil reserves, had stolen oil from the U.S., and vowed that those resources would now be reclaimed. Professor Parker argued that Trump appears keen on positioning major U.S. multinational oil corporations to benefit from Venezuela's oil wealth.
Trump has shown repeatedly that he's perfectly happy working with authoritarian regimes as long as the behavior of those authoritarian regimes lines up with his interests. Trump is willing to deal with the existing administration as long as certain criteria are met. And I think those criteria have to do with the return of several 100,000 Venezuelans from the United States to Venezuela. And secondly, a deal on oil, but which essentially allows American oil companies to return in force and number to run the Venezuelan oil situation. He's interested in that. He doesn't really care about the human rights situation in any country, including the United States.
Professor Richard Parker, Senior Fellow of the Shorenstein Center at Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Meanwhile, Venezuelan-born human rights activist Yesenia Gonzalez, who resides in Trinidad and Tobago, has welcomed the removal of Nicolas Maduro from power.
We have to pay for all the horrible nightmare that Venezuela has been going through. He has destroyed a whole country and his regime. We have serious human rights abuses reaching a milestone in degradation in the rule of law after election. A lot of reports, unlawful killing, disappearance, torture, or cruel or human and degrading treatment or punishment. Starting to see Maduro as the most evil man in history.
Yesenia Gonzalez, a Venezuela-born human rights activist. Incoming Chancellor of New York Public Schools, Jamaican Kamar Samuels, says improvements in literacy are among his main objectives as he prepares to take up the new role. Samuels was speaking on Nationwide at 5 on Monday. He is a Jamaican-born, New York-based veteran educator. He was recently appointed Chancellor of New York Public Schools by Mayor Zoran Mamdani. This places Samuels at the helm of the largest public school system in the U.S. He is set to oversee a system serving more than 1 million students and managing a budget in excess of $40 billion. Samuels says he wants to make high-quality education a reality for all New York families.
I really believe that the number one thing, or a very important thing, maybe it's not the number one thing that could make our city affordable, is if we had a high-quality school in every neighborhood. So many families move out of New York City not only because it's expensive, but because they can't find, from their perspective, a really good school for their child. And so they move to the suburbs looking for that, and I want to make sure that we create high-quality schools in every neighborhood so families stay in New York City.
He stresses that improving literacy will be his focus.
When it comes to education, the most important thing you have to do is to teach a child to read. And I don't care if it was in 1619 or today. I think our students need to be able to read well. They need to learn to read between grades kindergarten and 2, and then there should be reading to learn in grade 3 and beyond. And that is how you give kids access to quality life. When the mayor talks about affordability, we really need to make sure that our students are graduating schools at high levels.
Kamar Samuels has more than 20 years of experience in New York City's public education system. This spans classroom teaching, school leadership, and district-level administration, with a strong focus on data-driven decision-making and improving outcomes in urban schools. He attended Jamaica College in St. Andrew before migrating to the United States, where he earned an accounting degree from Barrack College, City University of New York. He later completed a Master of Science in Education in Childhood Education at Lemon College. As an immigrant, Mr. Samuels says he wants to create an inclusive school environment.
Where we had an influx of migrants, often very vulnerable. We have to make sure that we have schools that are set up to ensure that all of our kids succeed. I do think that representation matters. I remember how life-changing the election of Barack Obama was for me. I was a principal at that time, and I used to joke with my teachers that when I think I'm overwhelmed, at least I get to look at Obama, because I'm sure he's more overwhelmed than I was. And so a representation absolutely does matter.
Kamar Samuels, incoming Chancellor of New York Public Schools, speaking on Nationwide at 5 on Monday. And that's it for the local segment of the news. Up next, regional and international.
It's This Morning on Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
6:20.
This Christmas, choose life. As we recover from Hurricane Melissa's devastation, we're reminded that life is fragile. Pedestrians, stay alert. Drivers, slow down. Rest if you're tired, and never drink and drive. One careless decision can change a family forever. Let's have a safe and prayerful Christmas and a crash-free 2026.
Regional and international news this morning. Regional news, the government of Belize has called for restraint and a swift return to constitutional order in Venezuela following the U.S. capture of Nicolas Maduro on the weekend. In a statement on Monday, Belize said it had repeatedly expressed concern about the buildup of military assets in the region over the past several months. According to the government, Belize said it aligns itself with a statement issued by the Bureau of CARICOM Heads of Government on January 3. It reiterated its commitment to the Caribbean as a zone of peace and says it will continue to engage with CARICOM and states across the hemisphere as the situation continues to unfold. Belize also reaffirmed its commitment to international law and the United Nations Charter, describing both as essential to maintaining international peace and security. International news, Venezuela's main opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, has praised U.S. President Donald Trump for toppling her enemy, Nicolas Maduro, and has vowed to return home quickly. She says her movement ready to win a free election. She was speaking with Fox News in an interview late on Monday. Machado, a lawyer, escaped from Venezuela in disguise in October to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, which she dedicated to Trump. She said she had not spoken to Trump since October 10, when the award was announced. Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, were seized from their Caracas compound on Saturday and flown to the U.S. as part of a special forces operation. Appearing in court alongside his wife on Monday, Maduro pleaded not guilty to drug trafficking and other charges. He declared he was still president. And that's it for regional and international. Up next, sports.
all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Now for your morning sports, former champions Arnott Gardens have moved 5 places up the Ray Nephew Jamaica Premier League standings after crushing champions Cavalier 3-0 at the Tony Spalding Complex on Monday. The Junglists, who started the day in the 12th spot, are now up to 7th on 16 points. Cavalier, despite the loss, remain 5th on 22 points. Gregory Daly has completed his first day on the job as new General Secretary of the Jamaica Football Federation. Daly, who will undergo an initial 6-month probationary period, took over on Monday. He replaces Dennis Chung, who resigned last year. Daly, who's had to resign his posts as St. James FA President and JFF Vice President, told Nationwide Sports about his first day at the office.
Well, the first day on the job, let me say, maybe I was excited at first, but when you touch the ground, you have to touch the ground running. There's always a lot to do. So, you get the ball rolling.
Gregory Daly, the position of St. James FA boss will be decided at the next Congress of Parish FA, while the next JFF Congress will decide his replacement as Vice President. Finally, in your morning sports, Bangladesh has refused to travel to India for the 2026 Men's T20 World Cup, citing concerns about the safety and well-being of the players in a climate of deteriorating political ties between the two countries. Bangladesh's T20 World Cup matches were scheduled to be held in Kolkata and Mumbai, with their opening fixture against West Indies at Eden Gardens set for February 7. The decision by the Tigers, with just a month before the start of the tournament, throws the schedule into some disarray. In light of the decision, the BCB has formally requested the International Cricket Council to consider relocating all of Bangladesh's matches to a venue outside India. The BCB says it also has to think about the fans and journalists who will travel to India. Relocating Bangladesh's fixtures could result in a fresh set of complications. The tournament does not follow a hybrid model like the 2025 Champions Trophy, so it remains to be seen whether the ICC will agree to Bangladesh's request to move the matches out of India. And that's it for your morning sports.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
In business this morning, Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited SVL, the operator of Caymanas Park, has acquired the broadcast and production infrastructure of Sportsmax Limited. This following the company's closure in August 2025. Sportsmax had provided broadcast services to Supreme Ventures since 2018. The broadcaster ended operations last year after its parent company Digicel decided to exit consumer-facing media to focus on enterprise-grade services such as cloud computing and cybersecurity. The closure has left a significant gap in regional sports coverage, impacting leagues and events that relied on the network for live broadcasts. With Sportsmax no longer operating, SVL says it evaluated its options and decided that acquiring the former provider's broadcast equipment and hiring key staff was the most strategic path forward. The move effectively brings SVL's broadcast and production operations in-house. Now, Executive Chairman of Caymanas Park, Solomon Sharp, says the decision aligns with the horse racing company's long-term strategy of building a more efficient, flexible, and sustainable operation. Sales for the Nike fleece tracksuit, which Nicolas Maduro was wearing after being captured by the U.S. law enforcement last Saturday, have shot up since an image of the ousted Venezuelan president posted on Trump's Truth Social went viral. The Sunday Guardian is reporting that many online stores showed sold-out notices, especially for larger sizes. The tracksuit seen in the viral photo is part of Nike's popular Tech Fleece collection. The full set includes a hoodie and joggers. The full outfit costs nearly $260 US. And in foreign exchange trading this morning, the Jamaican dollar has gained 1 cent and will open trading against the benchmark US dollar, selling for an average $159.46. Against the Canadian, the Jamaican has lost 73 cents and will open selling for an average $117.08. And finally, the Jamaican dollar has lost $1.09 and will begin trading for an average $214.15 against the British pound. That's it for business this morning.
It's This Morning on Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
6:30.
The Commission of Strata Corporations is here to help, but we need your help too. That's why corporations are required to file annual returns. Annual returns include minutes of AGMs and EGMs, names and addresses of executive committee members, certificates of insurance, and completed forms and fees. Help us, help you. File your annual returns today. Visit reb.gov.jm for more information.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Say
emotions and feelings all corresponding in love, compatible. You can't get around it no matter how hard you try. You better believe it. And if you should find out that you are no different than I, reply.
We All Are One, a 1983 hit from Jimmy Cliff. Yeah, James Chambers of blessed memory, from his album The Power and the Glory. This one of the big hits, one of many from Jimmy Cliff's storied career. It's Nationwide this morning. I didn't hijack the start, I just caught Tona napping. My name is George.
I would never nap
I second time make it from morning. You know?
Listen, so you have to now tell our YouTubers, our peeps out there in Radio Land, what you're talking about.
Really though?
Yes.
Consequent upon what was said at the meeting, that we have inside jokes.
Exactly. That's exactly what came to my mind.
Yeah? Well, I to say I caught you napping, you know, she wasn't sleeping, but I mean that I always try to play a prank on Tana.
Yeah.
And I pranked her this morning, you know, pretending to be talking about something serious when I'm just, you know, horsing around.
You know?
So, yeah, we catch a
and of course my
here.
demeanor completely changed.
Yes.
Because I'm like, what happened? And then George just goes, you know, I'm joking.
Good morning.
Good morning. All is well. But that's your one for 2026.
All right, then. Take one.
You had your one moment last year.
You gave one or I took one?
Or you took one?
Took one. So you have one to give. So you say another one.
So I'll get you back, you know.
You will?
Yeah,
you said that last
the
time.
year is long.
You said that last time. you don't reach it.
Listen, there was a time at Nationwide, you know how Alric is,
yes.
Our sportscaster. Alric pranks everybody in here.
Court jester.
And he caught me. He came to me one day and he said, Tana, Simone is calling you. You know, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or HR manager, of course, I get up real quickly because Simone is calling me. It's important. I'm running up the staircase. We were at Bradley Avenue, of course, and go up there. Simone, Alric told me that you're calling me. Is everything okay? Yeah. Simone's like, me? I didn't call you.
Alric, I waste of time.
So one day I just took up his phone.
Oh, yeah?
And hit it. And he was looking all over the office for his phone. I'm like, that's what you get.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have patience.
Yeah.
I'll wait, but I'll get you back, George.
All right.
I'll get you back. Yeah. But it's so interesting that Jermaine played that song this morning. We don't normally tell Jermaine what to play. He just comes up with a song that he'll begin the show with. No matter where we're born, we're human beings. And it fits nicely into where I'm going with what's on my mind this morning because, you know, George and listeners, I sat up just after 9 last night reading the words of a 16-year-old Venezuelan. And a lot of dissecting was done yesterday from Nationwide this morning to Cliff Online to Nationwide at 5. It was predominantly about Venezuela. A lot of dissecting done on the case of Venezuela, Maduro, and the United States' actions in that South American country. But the experiences penned by this Venezuelan teen properly summed up the humanitarian situation in the country for me, and reminds us of the important element smack in the middle of geopolitical tussles and the current state of the affairs in relation to global rules-based order. And that important element, the people, that's the important element. And the words of 16-year-old Katy Reyes, she titles her piece, My Life in Venezuela. And I thought it necessary to come this morning and bring to you what Katy has put on paper, has written about her experiences as a teen in her country that is now occupying the space of media entities right across the world. Mamporol, my hometown in Venezuela, was beautiful before the economic crisis. The plumbing, the water, the light, everything worked and there were no problems. There wasn't the economic uncertainty that there is now. The streets were clean, and you could go out at any time. But the tone is not like it was before. Since the 2013 presidential election, Venezuela has experienced a drastic economic collapse. The country has been in a state of hyperinflation for 45 months, and 8 out of 10 Venezuelans reported eating less due to not having enough food at home or due to scarcity. Now, Mamperol is no longer the way it used to be. So we stay in our houses and the activities stopped. The economic situation is going from bad to worse. Things are super expensive. We cannot find things we need, and there are problems with drinking water, electricity, internet, and more. I also come from a very large family, so it is difficult for us to feed ourselves because we cannot find food or medicine because it is very expensive. And of course, all of that affects my studies. Things are not easy, but I have faith that they will change one day. Now, she has different subtitles. This one, or headliners. This one, power outages. Right now in Venezuela, there are times when the power goes out almost all day. This happens because the country's electrical system has not been maintained for years, and it has been failing for a long time. Money has not been invested for it to function and provide reliable electricity throughout the country. It also rains a lot, and when it rains, they turn off the power because the trees often fall due to strong thunder and lightning. When this happens, we spend up to 2 days without electricity until the poles are repaired. When the power goes out, the internet goes out, and that affects us because you cannot buy anything in the markets, nor can you do school activities. We can only use the books, but unfortunately, there are not enough books in schools, and they do not have enough information, which prevents me from meeting my goal of graduating from school. I'd like to maybe study tourism or nutrition, but all of that is complicated by the situation in my country. Lack of school resources. Regarding my school, it is difficult for us because, like I said, we do not have access to enough academic resources and the internet, which hinders my school performance. Right now, school is online at the time she wrote due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition, it is difficult for my family to acquire school supplies such as notebooks, pencils, markers, crayons, erasers, pencil sharpeners, rulers, and finally, a computer. These things are very expensive, and salaries here are just not enough. It makes it so that you buy one thing, you can't buy another. So I don't bother my parents because I know they can't buy me materials. At one point, I had a computer, but I was unfortunate in that it was stolen a week after I received it due to the insecurity of the country. I was in the 2nd grade when that happened. Gas shortages. The gas situation is really very serious because sometimes we go 2 to 3 months without gas and we have to cook with firewood. When the gas comes, we have to use it very sparingly. When we finish cooking, we close the bottle quickly and we make things that take longer to cook. For example, beans or soup. We do it on firewood. On the one hand, firewood is good because apart from the fact that it cooks quickly, the food is rich, and some people are already used to that. But cooking on firewood takes a lot of time because I have to help my mother, and so I try to do the task quickly so I can study. Dirty water. The pipes in Venezuela have to be fixed and changed since they're very old and the state has not maintained them. For this reason, the water is dirty because they do not treat it. There are parts of Venezuela that go up to a month without water. Since water is necessary for the body, there are times when we have to go to the spring or elsewhere far from home to find drinking water. It is also complicated because the spring is no longer fit to drink from. But before that, there were queues of people so long that you had to go around 5 a.m. if you wanted to leave early. Schools in Venezuela do not have drinking water either, and there are times when there is no water in the bathrooms. Right now, the only way to get water is to buy it. Not enough food. It is very difficult for my family to be able to buy enough food for us since salaries are not enough and there's no work in the country. There are 8 of us in my immediate family, but in reality, we are 11 siblings. The 6 oldest of us grew up with my grandmother, who lives in Maracaibo, Zulia State, and the other 5 of us grew up in Mamperol. We get a bag of food from the state every 2 months. Mainly, 11 food products come: 2 packages of rice, 4 packages of flour, a package of beans, a package of sugar, a can of sardines, and 2 packages of pasta. Sometimes 250 grams of milk comes in too, but it's not all the time. All that food lasts us 2 months. In reality, what they give us is not enough for a human being to eat. They only bring dry products and nothing salty or fresh, and they bring products in a very irregular way. In the months when the bag does not arrive, we have to buy food with the money we have. My father receives his pension and his retirement, although it's not enough to provide for a person's needs, and my older brother works in the houses of the town cleaning yards. Finally, Ketty says, my hope for the future. Despite the fact that the situation in Venezuela is like this, I keep my goals in mind and keep working to fulfill my dreams and help my family move forward. It will not be easy, but we must move forward so that the country can improve, because we Venezuelans are really tired and we need this country to emerge one day. Despite what we are experiencing, we hope that everything will be better someday. We Venezuelans have already learned to value more and to have more gratitude for the things we do have. And I believe that the Venezuela of before will return, and an even better one at that, because we will be a more knowledgeable people. Until then, it is important to share my story with everyone so that you can take into account our reality in Venezuela, and so that you appreciate the things that you have. And that was from
a
16-year-old Venezuelan giving a really comprehensive picture of the situation she experiences as a teen, a young girl in Venezuela. And that's the experience of many Venezuelans in that country as we talk about Venezuela now. A young lady who wants to see her country emerge and be stronger on so many fronts: the economy, socially, education, infrastructure, among other things she mentioned in her breakdown. And that hope, as you heard from the human rights activist on Nationwide at 5 yesterday, some are placing in Donald Trump. Some of you may have heard her, some of you may have not, but you can go back and listen to Nationwide at 5. But as historians, George, and people who are young practitioners like me who have gone back, to read about what happened, and we've seen the cases, some people have doubt about U.S. interventions and what will happen in nations that the U.S. intervenes and then leaves. And that concern and doubt is coupled with Trump's posturing about Venezuela's oil reserves and his administration's move now to engage members of the same Maduro regime, and it leaves uncertainty and unease for a lot of Venezuelans, a lot of historians, a lot of people looking on and knowing the history. And how much different people are asking will things be in the short term and long term for Venezuela and Venezuelans. I mean, we've seen the hubris from Trump in capturing Maduro, and there has been much fanfare around how the U.S. law enforcement carried out that operation to capture Maduro. And many Venezuelans are happy, some are not. But the what next plan is kind of giving a bit of back envelope vibes for me. Like it was jot down a bit, it's not quite worked out yet, seems to be in its infancy. So the people of that nation this morning are still in limbo about their country and their future. Persons like Ketty, the human rights activist who was on last night, and others. What will happen for them? You have to talk about political legitimacy, the transition process, and when that will happen. There are indications that Trump will engage with the Maduro regime about oil. So when will the transition be, are the questions people are asking. How far down the line is that? Which oil companies are ready to invest in Venezuela under these circumstances? I heard him on Air Force One speaking with some of the journalists who were traveling with him and saying that they want to go in so badly. he says, from the oil companies. But which oil companies are these? And they're willing to put up all the money that they need to put up to rebuild out Venezuela's oil infrastructure over the many years that they will need to do that. And will it take U.S. government funding too? You heard from Professor, I think it was Rapley yesterday, saying it's going to take a lot of money and perhaps a lot of personnel. Is Trump going to be sending military personnel into Venezuela as well? There are all of these questions. Everybody has so many questions because you just don't have a clear picture of what next for the people of Venezuela and Venezuela itself. And it just leaves one to wonder if, there's this big picture now of Maduro's capture, but will things fizzle out after that? Or will Trump hold to the word of saying, okay, others, they came in and things didn't go so well, but I wasn't there and I plan to do differently. Will that continue? Or is this just this big picture now and then things will just fade out and Venezuela and Venezuelans are in the same situation tomorrow, next year, and 5 years later? And that's what's on my mind.
It's This Morning on Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
6:49.
JPS and Partners Cooperative Credit Union offers financial solutions for every stage in your life: savings, auto loans, mortgages, and more. The Temperature by JPS and Partners Cooperative Credit Union, your financial partner for life, is
24 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 19 degrees Celsius in Mandeville. For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business. Time now for Street Smarts 1 with Ludlow McLean. Morning, Ludlow.
Morning, George. Morning, Tona.
Hey to you, Ludlow.
And everyone there in the studios and all our listeners and the motoring public. First of all, I want to start off. Once you leave Windward Road to get onto Sir Florida Glass Pole, or you're coming from Michael Manley Boulevard, please, I'm going to remind you, there are some huge potholes. Well, they're deep. And if the water, because of the rain, the water covers those holes. And if you hit those holes, you're bound to lose your tire or your rim or an accident if you try to avoid. So I'm just warning those. And this is heading towards, along Sir Plaza, that's heading towards Harborview. And this is in the right lane. It's a dual carriageway. So I'm reminding you, motorists, be careful. And these holes have been repaired several times. So something is causing the problem. And the layer of asphalt is very thin. So as the moment it's patched, it gets loose again once the rain, And I must tell you, I got into trouble this morning because I hit that hole and I lost a rim. All right? So I'm just telling the motorists, and I'm so upset. Anyway, that area though, if you're coming from Harborview, coming out of 7 miles to get to Harborview by the roundabout, you're definitely going to have a build-up of traffic there as they make your way. There is traffic along Sir Florida Glass Pole Highway, but it's moving smoothly, no problems at all. Going along Michael Manley Boulevard, the same thing, no problems. Going up that side, and in both directions, I should say, whether they're heading east or west, it's pretty good as they make your way. Going up Camp Road, South Camp Road, it's all good, no problems. You can make your way all the way to that intersection of Camp Road, Marion Road, and then going all the way further up to Comradecombe. It is good. Coming along Mountain View Avenue up, it's northbound, it's good all the way from Windward Road. But again, look out for some holes in that particular direction. All right, it's our first report until 7:20 Back to you, George.
Thank you, Ludlow. Ludlow there with Street Smarts 1. Up next, Word of the Day.
Your word of the day is spelled P-A-N-G-L-O-S-S-I-A-N, spelled P-A-N-G-L-O-S-S-I-A-N.
Panglossian. Panglossian. Panglossian.
Panglossian is your word of the day, an adjective, so descriptive word. Panglossian, meaning extremely optimistic despite ongoing hardship or adversity. Oh, after that one, good word of the day, dictionary.com. Panglossian, your word of the day, extremely optimistic despite ongoing hardship or adversity. The sentence example provided here: despite the mounting evidence of failure, his Panglossian attitude prevented him from acknowledging the true severity of the situation. Panglossian is your word of the day. Up next, your features at the top of the hour, the news.
Pumpkin seeds, small but mighty superfoods. Pumpkin seeds might be tiny, but they are packed with essential nutrients. Just a small serving provides a rich source of healthy fats, magnesium, and zinc, key nutrients for overall health. On Food for Thought today, we're exploring the incredible benefits of adding pumpkin seeds to your diet. Pumpkin seeds have been used in folk medicine since the ancient Oaxaca highlands of Mexico, credited with treating ailments from urinary tract infections to high blood pressure, kidney stones, and even intestinal worms. But what does modern science say? It's an anti-inflammatory power. Loaded with antioxidants, pumpkin seeds help combat inflammation, which is linked to chronic conditions like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. Keeping the hulls on acids adds fiber, making them a powerhouse snack for gut and heart health. Studies suggest pumpkin seeds may inhibit the growth of breast and prostate cancer cells, potentially even triggering cancer cell death. While researchers are still investigating the exact mechanisms, their high antioxidant content appears to play a key role. Having trouble sleeping? A handful of pumpkin seeds before bed might be the natural remedy you need. Packed with tryptophan, magnesium, zinc, and selenium, they help reduce stress and anxiety while promoting deep, restful sleep. In a study on mice, those treated with chemotherapy regained sperm production after consumption with pumpkin seed extracts. Researchers believe the antioxidants in these seeds help counteract reproductive damage. While human studies are ongoing, the findings are promising. With magnesium to regulate blood pressure and antioxidants that support nitric oxide production, essential for healthy blood vessels, pumpkin seeds promote better circulation and reduce the risk of strokes, making them a true heart health MVP. Pumpkin flowers are an underrated nutritional powerhouse. They're cholesterol-free, sugar-free, and low in saturated fat and sodium, yet rich in essential vitamins and minerals, including calcium, iron, magnesium, vitamin A, vitamin C, and folate, making them a great addition to a pregnancy diet. Meanwhile, pumpkin leaves contain manganese, which helps manage headaches, mood swings, and depression. They also provide vitamin D, calcium, and phosphorus, essential for strong teeth and gums. So, the next time you carve a pumpkin or make a hearty soup, don't lose those seeds. Roast them for a crunchy snack, sprinkle them on salads, or blend them into pesto. Pumpkins aren't just for decorations, they're a nutritional gold mine. That's it for Food for Thought. Until next time.
Fearless and fair. Nationwide 90 FM.
It is said that we catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
This is Lifestyle Pages on acquiring a pleasant disposition. Personality, for the most part, is made up of cheerfulness and charm. These two things are personal qualities or personality traits that can make someone more likable, approachable, and enjoyable to be around. In general, charm and cheerfulness are attributes that can be cultivated and valued in various contexts, including personal relationships, social interactions, and professional settings. When we are able to take off the mask and stop hiding our true selves from the world, then we will not need to build walls and fences around ourselves to hide from other people and the world at large. When you can change from being defensive and accept yourself for who and what you truly are, then you can become more cheerful. You will be able to think of others more and less of your own shortcomings. Learn to give yourself a light touch instead of being too hard on yourself and taking most things too seriously. You must learn to lighten up, to be cheerful. It only takes practice. I'm Valerie, and those were Lifestyle Pages.
Nationwide 90 FM, continuing the tradition of fair, fearless, and factual reporting.
Jamaica, let's make road safety a priority. Slow down, stay focused. Remember, every life matters. The time brought to you by the JIS is...
News time, 7 o'clock.
From the ground up, let's rebuild stronger, safer, better than before. National Supply, powering Jamaica's comeback. The temperature by National Supply is...
24 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 19 degrees Celsius in Mandeville.
The most credible news in the morning. The news at 7 on Nationwide 90 FM.
Coming up in the news at 7 today, Tuesday, January 6, 2026, relatives of man fatally shot by police in Manchester dispute the police's account of the incident. Court of Appeal head wants judges to exercise humility on the bench, and the Jamaican head of New York Public Schools lists literacy improvement among his goals in this new role. And in international news, Venezuela's opposition leader Machado praises U.S. action against Nicolas Maduro.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Relatives of at least one of the men killed by the police during an alleged confrontation in St. Tullys near Porus, Manchester on Monday say he was not a gunman. The deceased have been identified as Byron MacDonald, otherwise called Gary, Tishon Porteous, and Rashid Johnson. MacDonald's mother, Cherise Samuels, gave her account of the incident.
God, oh God, have mercy, Father God. The police then kill me, Pitney, and I got talk about a shootout. How shootout when a them go in their house, go kill the Pitney and put gun in a car. How did you do that? Come, I see Birma come here, so. Byron MacDonald. Come to me. Me not talking, me can't do this. Me talk to him last night, me call him and me and him talk and he say, Mommy, what you cook today? Me say, me cook pork. He say, me know 2 meat, you normally cook. Me say, 1 meat, me cook today, Gary. He say, Mommy, you know, say, me should have come for dinner today. Me say, why you never come? So me say, you eat? He say, no, a fast food you have to catch and eat. Fast food. So me say, why you there? He say, Mommy, me sit down in a car.
Relatives say MacDonald relocated to Manchester from St. Elizabeth due to the impact of Hurricane Melissa in October last year.
You know the reason why he moved and come here, sir? St. Elizabeth.
St. Elizabeth, he mash up.
Your uncle.
When your uncle live near to him.
And if I never did this, you know, there St. Elizabeth, you was St. Elizabeth mash up. That's the only reason why he's here.
God them know everything. Come over here, so I want justice.
Relatives of Byron MacDonald, one of 3 men killed during an alleged shootout with the police in Manchester on Monday. Meanwhile, head of the Manchester Police, Superintendent Kerry Duncan, says the parish is not a safe haven for criminals.
I just want to implore persons that Manchester is in fact a cool place and you're welcome to visit Manchester at any time. However, if you have any criminal intention at all, I would suggest that you find somewhere else to go, not Manchester.
Superintendent Kerry Duncan, head of the Manchester Police. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is reminding the public that the influenza or flu vaccine is available free of cost at health centres across the island. The ministry says the reminder serves as part of ongoing efforts to protect public health, particularly as flu cases normally spike during December to March and may continue into the month of May. Influenza is a highly contagious viral illness that spreads easily through coughing, sneezing and close personal contact. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Lusacer McKenzie says influenza should not be taken lightly as it can lead to serious complications such as pneumonia, blood infections, and seizures in children. She adds the illness can also worsen existing heart or lung diseases. Within the public health system, the flu vaccine is prioritized for specific groups, including healthcare workers, children and elderly persons with chronic illnesses, pregnant women, individuals who are institutionalized or in state care, and other frontline workers. However, all members of the public are being encouraged to take the vaccine. The ministry is also encouraging private healthcare providers to source influenza vaccines through private distributors to ensure even wider access for members of the general population. President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Marva MacDonald Bishop, has called on judges to exercise judicial humility. She made the call at the swearing-in ceremony for 6 members of the judiciary ahead of the start of the Hillary term at King's House on Monday.
What is judicial humility? It is when judges recognize the limits of their power and knowledge, staying open to different perspectives and willing to reconsider their position. This is a critical characteristic, particularly necessary for the appellate tribunal, where a judge invariably does not sit alone. Judicial humility is about balancing the role with restraint, respecting and upholding the roles and rights of others, and prioritizing fairness over personal views.
The justices sworn in were Lorna Shelley Williams and Carolyn Ty Powell, who will serve as acting judges of appeal from January 12 to March 27, 2026. Kamara Henry Anderson and Chester Crooks will serve as acting puisne judges effective January 7. Christine McNeil and Yvette Wentworth Miller will serve as acting masters in chambers effective January 7 to March 27, 2026. Justice MacDonald Bishop congratulated the new members of the bench on their appointment. She urged them to embrace the continued evolution in their thinking and learning.
Embracing the perspective that you are a learning judge rather than the learned judge will serve to foster a lifelong commitment to growth and development. Judicial humility stands as a cornerstone of a fair and evolving justice system. By acknowledging their own limitations and embracing the perspectives and rights of others, judges reinforce the dignity and humanity of all who appear before them. This humility does not diminish the authority of the bench. Rather, it elevates it.
Justice Marva MacDonald Bishop, President of the Court of Appeal. Meanwhile, Chief Justice Brian Sykes praised the 6 appointees for their merit-based selection to higher office.
Permit me to extend my heartiest congratulations to the judges who were sworn in. You are here on merit and not as a reward for long service. It is vital that you bring to that post the skill, the dedication, and the requisite humility, knowing full well that decisions that you make there not just affect the immediate parties to the proceedings, but could also affect the law for many years to come. And I have no doubt that you will acquit yourselves there properly.
Brian Sykes, Chief Justice, he was speaking at the swearing-in ceremony for new judges at King's House on Monday. Senior fellow at the Shorenstein Center of the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, Professor Richard Parker, says Donald Trump's motives may not be entirely pure following the capture by U.S. forces of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores. Speaking on Nationwide at 5 on Monday, Professor Parker suggested that one of Trump's key objectives is to ensure that Venezuelan migrants currently living in the United States are returned home as part of a wider effort to reduce refugee and asylum numbers.
I don't feel that Donald Trump's chief focus is to confront evil in Caracas. I think that there are at least a couple of other layers that we need to consider, one of which is he has made clear that he wants the several 100,000 Venezuelans who were admitted to the United States under special relief because of the Maduro regime returned to Venezuela. I don't think that augurs well for the human rights situation in Venezuela. One can certainly outline the number of abuses under the Maduro regime, but I don't see how this new regime is going to be radically different. I would not for a moment try to present Donald Trump as a man on the white horse who has come to rescue Venezuela from its misery. That's not what this is about.
On January 3, U.S. forces launched what Trump described as a large-scale strike against Venezuelan military infrastructure, leading to Maduro's capture and his transfer to the United States to face charges including narco-terrorism and cocaine importation conspiracy. During a press conference last Saturday, President Trump declared that the U.S. would oversee Venezuela's future governance. He also said Venezuela, which controls the world's largest proven oil reserves, had stolen oil from the U.S. and vowed that those resources would now be reclaimed. Professor Parker argued that Trump appears keen on positioning major U.S. multinational oil corporations to benefit from Venezuela's oil wealth.
Trump has shown repeatedly that he's perfectly happy working with authoritarian regimes as long as the behavior of those authoritarian regimes lines up with his interests. Trump is willing to deal with the existing administration as long as certain criteria are met. And I think those criteria have to do with the return of several 100,000 Venezuelans from the United States to Venezuela. And secondly, a deal on oil, but which essentially allows American oil companies to return in force and number to run the Venezuelan oil situation. He's interested in that. He doesn't really care about the human rights situation in any country, including the United States.
Professor Richard Parker, Senior Fellow of the Shorenstein Center at Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Meanwhile, Venezuela-born human rights activist Yesenia Gonzalez, who resides in Trinidad and Tobago, has welcomed the removal of Nicolas Maduro from power.
We have to pay for all the horrible nightmare that Venezuela has been going through. He has destroyed a whole country and his regime. We have serious human rights abuses reaching a milestone in degradation in the rule of law after election. A lot of reports, unlawful killing, disappearance, torture, or cruel or human and degrading treatment or punishment. Starting to see Maduro as the most evil man in history.
Yesenia Gonzalez, Venezuela-born human rights activist. Incoming Chancellor of New York Public Schools, Jamaican Kamar Samuels, says improvements in literacy are among his main objectives as he prepares to take up the new role. Samuels was speaking on Nationwide at 5 on Monday. Mahira Stewart has that story.
Kamar Samuels is a Jamaican-born, New York-based veteran educator. He was recently appointed Chancellor of New York Public Schools by Mayor Zoran Mamdani. This places Samuels at the helm of the largest public school system in the United States. He's set to oversee a system serving more than 1 million students and managing a budget in excess of $40 billion. Samuels says he wants to make high-quality education a reality for all New York families.
I really believe that the number one thing, or a very important thing, maybe it's not the number one thing that could make our city affordable is if we had a high quality school in every neighborhood. So many families move out of New York City not only because it's expensive, but because they can't find, from their perspective, a really good school for their child. And so they move to the suburbs looking for that, and I want to make sure that we create high-quality schools in every neighborhood so families stay in New York City.
He stresses that improving literacy will be his focus.
When it comes to education, the most important thing you have to do is to teach a child to read. And I don't care if it was in 1619 or today. I think our students need to be able to read well. They need to learn to read between grades kindergarten and 2, and then they should be reading to learn in grade 3 and beyond. And that is how you give kids access to quality life. When the mayor talks about affordability, we really need to make sure that our students are graduating schools at high levels.
Kamar Samuels has more than 20 years of experience in New York's public education system. This spans classroom teaching, school leadership, and district-level administration with a strong focus on data-driven decision-making and improving outcomes in urban schools. He attended Jamaica College in St. Andrew before migrating to the United States, where he earned an accounting degree from Baruch College in New York. He later completed a Master of Science in Education and Childhood Education at Lehman College. As an immigrant, Mr. Samuels says he wants to create an inclusive school environment.
Where we had an influx of migrants, often very vulnerable. We have to make sure that we have schools that are set up to ensure that all of our kids succeed. I do think that representation matters. I remember how life-changing the election of Barack Obama was for me. I was a principal at that time, and I used to joke with my teachers that when I think I'm overwhelmed, at least I get to look at Obama, because I'm sure he's more overwhelmed than I was. And so representation absolutely does matter.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Mahiri. An item of regional news now. The government in Belize has called for restraint and a swift return to constitutional order in Venezuela following the U.S. capture of Nicolas Maduro on the weekend. In a statement on Monday, the Belizean government said it had repeatedly expressed concern about the buildup of military assets in the region over the past several months. According to the government, Belize aligns itself with a statement issued by the Bureau of CARICOM Heads of Government on January 3. It repeated its commitment to the Caribbean as a zone of peace and says it will continue to engage CARICOM and the states across the hemisphere as the situation continues to unfold. Belize also reaffirmed its commitment to international law and the United Nations Charter, describing both as essential to the maintenance of international peace and security. Further afield, Venezuela's main opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has praised U.S. President Donald Trump for toppling her enemy, Nicolas Maduro, and has vowed to return home quickly. She says her movement is ready to win a free election. Machado was speaking with Fox News in an interview late on Monday. A lawyer, Machado escaped from Venezuela in disguise in October to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, which she dedicated to Donald Trump. She said she had not spoken to Trump since October 10 when the award was announced. Maduro and his wife Celia Flores were seized from their Caracas compound on Saturday and flown to the U.S. as part of a special forces operation. Appearing in court alongside his wife on Monday, Maduro pleaded not guilty to drug trafficking and other charges. He told the court he was still the president of Venezuela. That's the news.
Sign up for the JN Money Card. It's safe, convenient, and free. The time by JN Money is
7:16.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Time now for Street Smarts 2 with Ludlow McLean. Good morning, Ludlow.
Morning again, George, and listeners and all our transport operators and stakeholders. It's buzzing now. Some areas are buzzing now with traffic. Now, earlier on, I did say Mountain Dew was flowing freely, but and all the way up to Windward Road. But it's a different situation now. It has the traffic has built up significantly, especially once you cross Windward Road to get onto Mountain View, and this is northbound, by the way. You're going to have a build-up of traffic along Windward Road to get onto Mountain View. And then in the vicinity of that Excelsior Community College and the high school and also the primary school, that's a school zone, you're going to have traffic. And this traffic is going to take you all the way to the top of Mountain View Avenue, all the way up to connect with Old Hope Road. So Stanton Terrace also has some traffic. So you're going to have traffic in that way. And Old Hope Road coming down, you're going to have traffic. So that eastern corridor has traffic, and it's building more and more. I should also remind you, motorists, that if you're going along, if you're on Fairway Avenue to get onto Seymour Avenue at that intersection, please, there's a trench there. I see they put some marl there, but as rain comes, it disappears. And I also want to tell you that Retreat Avenue and Seymour Avenue, there are some areas that they have marked out to do some patching there. The same thing along Wellington Drive, coming from Mona Road onto Wellington Drive, you have to be careful. So there's no need for speeding, because if you fall into any of those holes that have been dug out, you're going to have some serious consequences. So just reminding of that. But in the meantime, if you're coming from Mona Road, there is some traffic there, so if you can avoid that here to get out to Wellington, and also Old Hope Road coming from the Ligonier area, coming all the way down to connect to the top of Mountain View, Stanton Terrace, and going further out. All right, so it's our second report for the morning, and as usual, we urge you, lane properly, be careful, and the unnecessary speeding. The roadways are wet. You don't need to be speeding, because a lot of motorists are not able to control the vehicle at particular speeds. So it's our second report at Street Smart. Your safety is our concern. Over to you, George.
Thank you, Lodlo. Lodlo there with Street Smarts 2. Up next, front page. Front Page is brought to you today by ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business. For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Welcome back to Nationwide this morning. Now tuned in to our discussion segment, The Front Page. Continuing conversations on Venezuela, United States President Donald Trump has sought to justify the attack launched on Venezuela and Washington's continued assertion of influence in Latin America by invoking a policy rooted in the 19th century. On Saturday, President Trump described the operation that resulted in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro as an updated version of the Monroe Doctrine, the 1823 declaration by the 5th U.S. President James Monroe. He said the United States would run the country until what he termed a safe, proper, and judicious transition is achieved. President Trump stated the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a real lot. They now call it the Donroe Doctrine or document, he said. He added that American dominance in the Western Hemisphere would never again be questioned. So what exactly is the Monroe Doctrine? Is it still relevant today? And what does this attack on Venezuela mean for Venezuelan nationals living outside the country? To discuss, we're being joined by lead editor for news gathering at Guardian Media, Kejan Haynes, and Director of Caribbean Development Research Services, and a political consultant, Peter Wickham. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
All right, so Kajan, Peter, thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide this morning. Just before going into the substantive point of the discussion around the Monroe Doctrine and its relevance in what's happening in Venezuela today and what Trump is saying, what do you make of generally what has happened on Saturday in Venezuela? First you, Peter, and then Kajan.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. No, to be honest, Saturday was a surprise to me. People suggested there were various options that Trump was pursuing. My sense is that this one was not something that any of us contemplated because it just seems so outlandish. The action is, well, you can't say it's unprecedented because it did happen some time ago in Panama, but it is the type of thing that we haven't seen for a long time, and it was brazen. I thought it was highly offensive, quite frankly. It was an affront to the sovereignty of Venezuela and indeed the rest of the Caribbean. And I think it's taken us back to days that we assumed that we had long since passed. I'm listening to you this morning and I'm just thinking to myself that your former Prime Minister, Michael Manley, must be rolling in his grave, seeing that history has essentially repeated itself. So I think that these are dark days for the region, frankly. I think this is just the beginning. And I am very, very concerned. I think that's probably the best place to start my analysis that I'm concerned. There's a level of uncertainty and a fear that history will repeat itself. We're going back to the 1980s, 70s and 80s.
And Kajan, for you, were you similarly shocked by what happened on Saturday?
Yes and no. Of course, now, as a journalist, I don't get the same license to express myself as Peter. But what I will say is, for months now, Trinidadians have been on edge, sort of waiting for this to happen. And it always seems that everything flares up on a weekend, on a Friday, and we always expect it on the Saturday. So when I got that call at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, I was like, okay, this will be Saturday. What was interesting, though, from our perspective is just how quickly everything had happened. So we were expecting this is the long, prolonged action, and it was over before it started for most of us. We woke up after it was already done. What was interesting, though, is what Trinidadians have always wondered is what role did our country, if any, play? Because of our proximity, we know that the U.S. troops have been in the country. Will we party to it in any way? Now, of course, the government, the very first thing that came out was the Prime Minister saying, well, we had nothing to do with it. So we wonder if they, too, were caught by surprise. But it's... so we've all been anticipating it. And then it finally happened, but it really did go off without the sort of fear and anxiety that had been building for months in the country.
How many Venezuelans are living in TNT, Kajan?
We don't have an actual figure on that. I mean, people are estimating anywhere from 20,000 to 60,000. The numbers fluctuate on any given day depending on who you ask. What's interesting, though, is now the government has done what they condemned in the PNM government in 2019 when they created a registration for all of the illegal Venezuelans who were living there at the time. Now, any illegal immigrant can register under this program until the end of September. And what my sources are telling me is it's because they are expecting another influx of migrants, refugees into the country if there is prolonged activity with the U.S. And so now they want to take advantage and just make sure that we do have an understanding of how many Venezuelans are in the country through this registration program.
So even as that happens, are you getting a sense that those who are there, any number, are preparing to return home now that Maduro is gone?
No, because life here is still good. They still can work. They still can send the money back to where they're from. And all things considered, the back and forth between Trinidad and Venezuela never stopped. So there are people who still they will come here, they will buy what they need, they may work for a little while, and then they go back home. And then they come back. It is a back and forth. There is there's a business of these fishermen who are helping to bring, and they're not what I'm saying is now it's kind of slowed down because of all the bombings, but there are people who just bring in people, and they're not all drug dealers. There are people who want to bring their children across, and these fishermen facilitate that. There is a big trade between the two countries.
And for those Venezuelans who are in Trinidad and Tobago, Keishan, what has been the reaction from them to what happened on Saturday?
Yeah, you have to remember these if they fled, likely they are anti-Maduro. Mm-hmm. So they will be happy to not see Maduro there. Are they happy with what's happened next? It's hard to tell, because the country is still being run by essentially the same faction that was run before. Like, everybody says the name Maduro, but Maduro was one tentacle of the octopus, regime, so to speak. Yeah, mm-hmm. He was just one part. And the ex-analyst Peter could back me up here. He may not have even been the most powerful part of the regime. So they are still taking it cautiously.
The heavy part of this discussion, gentlemen, will concern the Monroe Doctrine, which we'll get to, but just bear with us on this part of the conversation. Yeah. Peter, the issue of torture chambers in Venezuela and a real despotic regime. We've heard so many people speak about these things. Are these things real based on your information, or are they just intended to make Maduro look worse than he actually was?
Yeah, I don't know, and the reality is that I don't believe a lot of what I hear from Donald Trump. The United States, certainly under Trump, well, to start with, the United States has always had some challenges with the truth where these kinds of issues are concerned. And I only had to take you back to the weapons of mass destruction that were supposed to be present in Iraq, which have never been found. And I think that we have a similar challenge now where I don't believe a lot of what I hear out of Washington with regard to Venezuela. I've never spoken to dissidents. I think Keishan might have, and I don't know what a lot of them experienced there. But I would be very, very careful assuming that this is all true because Donald Trump said it, because he said a lot of things in his time that we have subsequently found to be untrue. The other point I wanted to make, though, with respect to the conversation you're having now, is that this idea that the things are over and that people can start thinking about going home is not a reality. And I mean, as Keishan is saying, the relations between Venezuela and Caracas, between Caracas and Port of Spain, are still very much up in the air. But the concern and fear about things not being right in Venezuela is still very much there. The United States action is not completed. We are told that they've taken out the head, but the reality is that the administration is still very much intact, and the leader currently, the vice president who is now acting, is very much concerned about making her position very, very clear. Trump is saying that she will cooperate, but I haven't really heard anything from her to suggest that she's on board with a lot of what he's saying. So life for Venezuelans will continue to be hard. This has not solved anything. Indeed, I think it has created more problems. And certainly for the Kamala Bessassa regime, you now have a likelihood that you will have not less but more people coming over from Venezuela that you have to manage. So I think that her problems are only now starting, quite frankly. And I can't help but saying that, I find that she looked for that to a large extent. I am not prepared to say that what has happened is her fault. I'm not prepared to say that Trinidad and Tobago is a party to the action, because I genuinely don't believe that either of those things are true. But I do believe that she has provided some level of moral comfort and continues to the Trump regime in terms of this level of aggression in the region that I don't think that any of us really want. So that's where I am, and as I said, this thing about torture chambers and whatnot, I will be very, very careful with that kind of evidence. And then the other point that has to be made is that even if this thing is true, even if Maduro is as bad as he's said to be, and I think that there's some suggestions that he's not observing electoral laws to start with. the point is that a basis to take out a person? And I think that we have to separate those two issues. I have some very good Venezuelan friends, in Barbados, and I've been saying that to them, that as much as you're rejoicing that the man is gone, you also have to appreciate that the methods that were used raise serious questions about international law. It takes you back to Grenada in the 1970s.
Yeah. We're going to come to the issue of international law, but just before the break, Akijan, are those Venezuelans in TNT, based on the account of what they fled from back home, the picture of a large-scale torture operation, punishing people, punishing dissidents? That's what we've been told by U.S. media. Is that backed up by what the Venezuelans in TNT say about the conditions at home?
No, we're not talking the extent of, let's say, 1930s Germany gas chambers sort of things. But they do describe a regime where you don't have freedom of speech. We all know how, beginning from since Chavez days, they would have shut down media. They nationalized most companies, so there's no room for dissent. They talk about arresting political prisoners and for political dissidents, or forcing them into exile. So these are things that they do describe. They don't describe a world where they are free to criticize the government. They cannot, they can vote. Venezuelans love an election. They have an election for everything. But at the end of the day, they're not entirely trusting of the results that come out of the CNA.
But let me put the question even squarer, Kijan. Nicolas Maduro is being painted by the United States as one of the most evil men to have drawn breath in the Americas. Is that borne out by what Venezuelans have said about their leader, Venezuelans in TNT?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is not nice. They are definitely not describing a Pol Pot or where they're shooting people in the streets. So everybody points back to the one major, Peter, you can give me the correct date. Was it like in the 2003, 2003, 2004, where there were a lot of riots in the streets, and there was a lot of repression of that. Sure. That is probably one of the biggest on-camera examples of Venezuela's repression, and they point to that. But you don't have mass shootings the way we're going to call a spade a spade. Israel's actions in Gaza are 10 times worse than anything Maduro would have done to his people in Venezuela.
Yeah, and Peter,
and I'm happy you mentioned Gaza, Kishon, because you can also talk about people like Pol Pot. It's not of that order. And I think that's the point that needs to be made, that there are worse atrocities existing. Vladimir Putin is far greater dictator than Maduro ever was or ever could be.
Yeah,
and you don't hear those kinds of issues, right? So we have to be careful when those suggestions are made. Turkey, this raised questions, and as a European country, about the manner in which opposition is dealt with. So to me, that's a sideshow. That's not the main event.
The UN has said, Peter, on the point of international law, that aspect of international law which deals with the respect for a country's territorial sovereignty, that at the highest level, that's what was breached when Maduro was taken. And I want to pick you up on that after the break.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
7:36.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household, and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is
24 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 19 degrees Celsius in Mandeville.
Jamaica's largest tile selection just got even bigger. Discover what's new at Active Home Center. With our latest arrivals, it's easier than ever to make your space truly unique. Explore ocean blues, botanical greens, and soft sandy neutrals that bring a calm, effortless vibe. From bold patterns to sleek, large format tiles in glossy or matte finishes, every room makes a statement. Shop now at Active Kingston and Montego Bay. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
Welcome back to Nationwide this morning. We're having a conversation about Venezuela, given the impact of the operation on Saturday, in which the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, was taken, himself and his wife, Celia Flores, taken by U.S. Special Forces, and they appeared in a court in New York yesterday. You know, they speak about the walk of shame, and we all know what the walk of shame is, and it relates to, unfortunately, women. Well, Maduro made the walk of shame yesterday. Various stops ferried from a vehicle to a helicopter, from that helicopter to another vehicle, and then backed into a compound at the court building. And it was very undignified to see a man who says he's the president of a country handcuffed and being surrounded by DEA agents as he's brought to make his first appearance in court. Discussing the issues with us, we're going to get to the Monroe Doctrine. We have time. Lead editor, News Gathering, Garden Media, Keejan Haynes, and Director of Caribbean Development Research Services, political consultant Peter Wickham. Before the break, Peter, I put the issue, you mentioned the international law, and I wanted to give the issue space to breathe. So we distilled it from what we were talking about before, but now we come to it. That aspect which speaks about a country's territorial sovereignty and what happened on Saturday night. From your reading, Saturday morning, from your reading, was international law breached in how the U.S. went about taking Maduro and Celia Flores?
But I mean, I think that it generally agreed that it was a violation of international law. But what is equally agreed is that I don't think the United States really cares. Did they care about international law when they went into Grenada in the 70s? Did they care about international law when they went into Panama and took out Noriega in 1989? And it's interesting because apparently international law was a concern when the Netanyahu bombed the adversary in I'm forgetting
Iran?
the country. No, not Iran. I'm talking about
Lebanon.
Iran, of course, was nothing. It was in Lebanon, right?
Yes.
And then also when they went over. So it was interesting that I heard reference being made to violations, because Netanyahu's excuse was that, look, I will look for the enemy, my enemy, wherever that person is, and I will attack them wherever they are, because that's the basis of my self-defense. Ultimately, the Monroe Doctrine was similar, in that they claimed that the United States had a right to go after whomever in their hemisphere, in their sphere of influence, and deal with them at source. So it's ultimately the same principle. And as I said, the United States of America took exception, when their friends were bombed, when Netanyahu was essentially trying to go after an adversary. And the argument was that you can't do that. But I think that in this instance, it's pretty clear that it is a breach of international law. It's interesting that the British, I'm particularly concerned about the British, because, we expect some level of moral authority to come from them. They have been silent in that regard, and they have said, they're focused on the question of Maduro's dislike for him. And they've said that they are going to work with their partners towards establishing the legal basis on which the attack was made.
Well, they've advanced that now, they've advanced that, because Yvette Cooper has said, echoing the line of her Prime Minister Keir Starmer, that look, what happened in Venezuela on Saturday morning, we will abide by what the U.S. says it is. So they're not taking a position. They're saying whatever the U.S. says was the motivation and the reason, that's what we're working with.
Yeah. And that's it. So the challenge that we have is that international law requires the cooperation of the UN Security Council. The United States of America sits on the UN Security Council. So we are in a peculiar situation where the rules of diplomacy, the rules of international law are determined by the United States of America. And it galls me, quite frankly, because I taught international politics at the university for a while, and I, tried to set up this idea that there's an architecture of a rules-based system globally that we all follow and adhere to. And then what I am seeing is essentially what Prime Minister Motley says, that, that is a rules-based order that really only applies to some people, and that it doesn't apply to the United States of America. You have international arrest warrants out for Netanyahu and for Vladimir Putin. Nobody is going in to their countries and dragging them out, kicking and screaming. But yet still, you can have a situation in which Maduro, as far as I know, is wanted for crimes against the United States of America, which is a domestic thing. And he can be dragged out and brought before a U.S. court to stand trial. It's appalling, and I think it's clearly a violation. And, I struggle to understand why up to now CARICOM hasn't actually articulated that position. Kishon's prime minister, she hasn't said anything about international law. Trinidad and Tobago is one of the architects of the ICC. And I would always have looked to Trinidad and Tobago for guidance in these kinds of matters. And again, Ian R. Robinson must be rolling in his grave when he sees, what has come of this whole situation. And I'm not saying that you have created it, but I'm saying that I think that we have a responsibility in the region to take a position on these kinds of things because, we understand the pain that it can cause and has caused.
And Peter, on that point, what really should the Caribbean leaders be saying? For those who have appeared on Nationwide and we've asked, they're pretty much advising them to move sensitively through these raindrops on this matter.
Yeah, and I listened to Ralph Gonzalez, who sadly is now in the opposition and has less power. But he pretty much said that leaders are constrained in speaking freely in relation to these matters because of the seriousness of it. And he feels that there will be an opportunity for some level of negotiation. And as such, it doesn't help to take these strident positions that hold out. I listened to him and stuff, and it was interesting that he said it. But frankly, I still would like to have heard more from our Caribbean leaders. Yeah. And as I said, a strident position that says that CARICOM stands behind international law. Our interpretation of international law does not allow a head of state to be taken out in that way. Because today is that they could go and take out Prime Minister Holness tomorrow. Yeah,
Kijan, what's the feeling in TNT about how Kamla Prasad Bressessor is boxing clever amid this flexing of U.S. might in this part of the world?
Like everything else, it goes down to if you are a UNC supporter, that's Kamala's party, you support everything she does. Listen, the parallels between us and the U.S. right now are uncanny. It's the playbook, note for note. What we've noticed is our Prime Minister has basically told us, do not, and I'm talking us as in the public, do not criticize the U.S., because look how you might lose your visas. You can't say that you want to go to Miami and shop and then you want to criticize the U.S. That's almost a direct quote. Mm-hmm. So there is this fealty, this loyalty that the Prime Minister has taken with the U.S. when previously, decades of our international relations policy was always non-interference, not intervention. We are good with everybody. Think of having two friends that you have. You are good with both of those friends. They don't like each other, but you stay in the middle. So I'm not in that. I like you. So we are all going to. But that was what our foreign policy used to be. And now we've chosen a side. And funny enough, we have chosen the side of the U.S. and actually turned our backs on CARICOM for the most part. You've heard the rhetoric, CARICOM, unreliable partner. They've taken the side of Maduro. The CARICOM parties who are part of ALBA, she has accused them of, being, pro-Maduro and all of these things. So we have firmly taken a side. What happens next was what everybody wants to know, because if the U.S. packs up and leaves, CARICOM is still our brothers, and Venezuela is still our literally, physically closest neighbor.
Hold the line, gentlemen. Yeah. Another break. Back with more after these.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
7:46.
Hawkeye expresses heartfelt sympathy to all Jamaicans impacted by Hurricane Melissa. As we recover together, we remain committed to securing what matters most. The temperature by Hawkeye is
24 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 20 degrees Celsius in Mandeville. For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures.
ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Welcome back. Lead editor, News Gathering, Guardian Media, Keejan Haynes, and Director of Caribbean Development Research Services, political consultant Peter Wickham are with us. Donald Trump says Don Road Doctrine, a portmanteau of Donald and Monroe. Let me ask you, Peter, for the benefit of my audience, define the Monroe Doctrine and apply it to what is being played out now with this U.S.-Venezuela situation.
I mean, I'm probably not the best person to do it because the actual details I'm not familiar with. Well, I'm not as familiar as I should because I've moved out of that environment for a while. But as I said, the basic principle suggests that the United States of America has to look after its interests anywhere within the hemisphere. So if you look at the United States backyard, which is essentially the Caribbean, then it means that they have a right to look out for their interests in that regard. What Donald Trump is doing is essentially saying that this is still relevant, and indeed it should be hemispheric. So we're not just looking at the Caribbean, because of course at that time the concern was the threat would come from Cuba as a proxy for Russia. He is basically saying now that this takes on economic considerations because that's largely what the concern is in relation to Venezuela, and that the United States of America's sphere of influence is essentially hemispheric. So forget international law and sovereignty and all of those issues. If you impact on our interests, whether it be economically or whether it be politically or whether it be in terms of drugs, which they presume this is about, they have the right to take you out at source. And it's a principle that has been knocked around for a while with some challenges. You know, the Noriega thing was essentially suggesting that he is dealing in drugs which are making their way into the United States and causing problems, so we have a right to go in and take him out. Whether that's true or not is another matter, but it's a basic principle, and it's the same principle that would have allowed them to take out someone like gosh, and my brain is still a bit foggy this morning.
It's all right.
But the idea is that they can go in and take out people as they see fit when they seem to be problematic to them to solve those problems.
The influence.
Yeah.
So what they don't want is people from outside of the hemisphere coming in. This would have come around, when at the time when Europe was still out there conquering and trying to colonize places, and they felt that if there were places being colonized near to them in their hemisphere that may not have been friendly, it would not have been in their strategic and security interests. So they just decided anybody who is going to have a stake in a country near to the U.S., they better be friendly to the U.S.
Let's localize it now, Keejan. So, isn't it based on the explanation Peter gave, which was solid, and your addition to the explanation? Perhaps it is that Kamala Prasad-Bissessar will feel she deserves credit for seeing the big picture where diplomacy is concerned, for seeing the big picture where the leadership in the hemisphere is going, and so her cozying up to the United States makes practical sense given how influence is being fought for and partitioned across the world.
Yeah, but is that her interest?
Hold on, Peter. Let's the Keejan first.
Okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine. No, but there are people who are seeing it that way. There are people who are saying maybe she doesn't have a choice in behaving this way. What's interesting, though, is I have been speaking to people within the U.S. Embassy, and I did plain ask them, are you asking her to say these things? And, again, we'll agree on salt. They're like, no, we're happy she's saying it, but she doesn't need to. So, at the end of the day, the question is, are you doing it because Trump is the kind of person who likes that sort of adoration, and he requires that, because at the end of the day there has to be a larger picture. Is the larger picture that we just don't want to be on the receiving end of the insults and whatever manifestations he comes up with in that moment, or are we actually, let's plain talk on dollars and cents, oil. We need Venezuela for its natural gas, and we have a dwindling natural gas reserve. We need that, and we need access to it. Now, the experts are saying the only thing that we, at this point, with all the rhetoric, can hope for is regime change, and regime change that is friendly to Trinidad and Tobago to give access to that, because I think we have earned any sort of bridges with the Delcy Rodriguez administration of Venezuela.
Yeah. The big picture diplomacy is what Kamla Persad-Bissessar is playing, some say, Peter. You agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that. I think that she has it wrong in many regards. And, I was saying earlier that I am not sure that this is necessarily in Trinidad and Tobago's either short or long-term interest. Let's say, for example, there is regime change in Trinidad and Tobago in Venezuela. Let's say that it's not likely to happen in the short term. If it does happen, let's say within the next year or two, how quickly can you get a natural gas pipeline started and completed? You're looking at a 10-year horizon, and you're going to have probably 2 or 3 more presidents in that time. So I think that Kamla Persad-Bissessar got it wrong, quite frankly. The expectation that this approach and the Trump approach would yield quick results is something that I am not convinced about. And I don't think that this is necessarily in her short or long-term interest. I get the international thing and the fact that she feels that we're all being pushed in this direction. But look, my question is, did Grenada have a choice? Grenada was asked to take the radar. I said no. Grenada's GDP, 25% of Grenada's GDP relies on an American school called the St. George's University. And Grenada said no. Well, for all intents and purposes, said no when they were asked to put the same radar that is now positioned in Crown Point in Tobago. Antigua also has a tremendous amount of influence from the United States of America, and Antigua said no. What I find is that Kamla Persad-Bissessar is posturing in a way that says that I want to appear to be more friendly than I need to be. I mean, so what we heard at the United Nations from her, she was sucking up. It was open, and it was in a sense embarrassing to hear a leader from the region, from a country that is so wealthy and powerful in the region. I mean, Trinidad and Tobago is one of the wealthiest. Presenting themselves in this way and essentially almost saying, we can be a vassal state for the United States of America. So I get the international influence, and I get that, but I also feel that she had options, and I think that she is kind of bending over backwards, as Kishon is saying, bending over backwards to appear to be friendly and and cozying up to Trump in a way that I don't think is necessary. And I mean, I admire Dicker Mitchell, right? Grenada is one of the smallest, poorest Caribbean countries with a tremendous level of exposure to the United States of America, and he was able to navigate around taking a radar that ultimately is an offshore base for the United States of America. And he was able to avoid doing it. Ironically, days after, Trinidad and Tobago took the same radar, and we have Kamla Persad-Bissessar saying that the building of road and all of this stuff, but you now have a naval base. Since Chaguaramas closed down, this is the first time that you now have a United States Army base in Trinidad and Tobago, stationed there, collecting intelligence and whatnot. You know, sorry, Kishan?
She's adamant it's not a base.
She said it's offices, right? But she also said they were building a road, so
Kijan, I want Kijan, I want to hear you on the. You see, for all of what Peter is saying, one of the things that at the heart of the entire situation as it unfolds is those who have power choosing to wield power. And I don't know about any of you, but I've never seen a leader of a democratic nation wield power in the way that Trump is wielding power. And to that extent, Kijan, can we then not understand why someone like Persad-Bissessar would be, as Peter said, bending over backwards, doing more than is necessary, showing the world that, look, I'm really a friend of the United States and I will facilitate them doing whatever they want to do in this region?
But remember, as I said earlier, when I asked that U.S. official, are you Are you making her say these things? And they're saying, no, it's not required. None of this posturing is required. Let me just really quickly go back. The first time we realized that there was this, now we always knew in 2020, she ran on a Trump campaign. Like down to make Trinidad great again, she said all of that. It was the campaign she ran. Now we just thought that this was, she sees Trump as a winner, we're gonna mimic that. Because she mimicked Obama when she ran in 2010. Obama was, she had exactly Obama's campaign. So we just figured, that's how she is. Earlier this year, it was May, out of the blue, Diosdado Cabello in Venezuela said that there were Colombians and Trinidadians coming into Venezuela to try to overthrow the government, and they arrested a Trinidadian citizen, right? So the natural response is, what evidence do you have? Let's work this out diplomatically. That did not happen. Kamala Persad-Bissessar stood up in a press conference and said, you are absolutely not going to ruin our relationship with the U.S. We stand by the U.S. And everybody was kind of taken back because we said, what do they have to do with this? This is Venezuela accusing Colombia and Trinidad of people coming into the country through Trinidad. Where did the U.S. come from? And honestly, we put it in the back of our minds at the time. And then everything started to unfold, and we started to see this sort of fealty and loyalty to the U.S. that we didn't, and it's just gotten worse. Again, it's not required. If you ask it, here's my thing. Has the U.S. president actually said, thank you, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, at any time?
Well, I haven't heard that.
Trump has never mentioned her name. Trump has never mentioned Trinidad and Tobago, never thanked us for our help. It seems as though the young people call it we're behaving like a pick me, choose me, love me. But I don't think we are. There are people posturing that maybe we're hoping for some sort of Argentina type bailout. Because we need some money. We need the Forex. Are we lining ourselves up for that? We don't see what the end game of all of this posturing is, and I think the public is kind of hoping that we see it soon.
And finally, to you, Peter, I hear you wanting to come in on that point that Kijan was making. Plus, for the ones that are on Trump's, potential target list, the Cuba and the Colombia. What of them? Do they bend, wait it out? What happens in their case?
I frankly don't know what I would encourage them to do. We also have to remember that Greenland and Mexico and maybe even Canada may be on his hit list as well, because it's ever growing, ever expanding. And I think that we should all be afraid, be very, very afraid as to what advice you can give to people in these countries. I frankly don't know. If the United Nations is not prepared to stand up to him, if the larger countries like the United Kingdom and France are not being willing to stand up to him and saying, look, you have to have some regard for international law. I think that we're all going to hell in a handbasket, quite frankly, or a Trump basket, as the case may be. So this is where we are. I think that we have some dark days ahead, and we have to all be essentially aware of where this is going. The point I was making just now is just that it has to be soon. I think the Trinidad and Tobago population is expecting this timeline to materialize quickly. So I think Kamala Persad-Bissessar, she has to produce something tangible soon, because she has a 5-year horizon in terms of being able to produce something. Frankly, I don't think that gas will be flowing from Venezuela in 5 years, which ultimately means she's going to have to walk into an election and defend this position she has been taking that clearly has not produced anything. Alternatively, maybe the United States will offer balance of payments assistance or some kind of real tangible benefit economically that can help her, and maybe that is her hope. But I do think that the challenge that she will face is this very, very dear timeline that is encroaching on all of us. And in the meantime, we have a situation that is deteriorating, as you said, and we have to start looking at Colombia. We have to start looking at Greenland, because he set his sights on that as well. We have to start looking at Mexico, and he's attacked the Mexican leader as well and said, she needs to start doing things. And I think we should all be afraid, quite frankly, be very afraid. I mean, you guys in Jamaica, you're right under the armpit of the United States and, right next to Cuba as well, which is a kind of a double whammy. I wish you well, and I wish all of us well within CARICOM. And I think, we need to maintain the brotherhood and the sisterhood of CARICOM because it's all that we have to go by. So I do hope, and I'm buoyed by Keishon's responses today that says to me that, the Trinidad and Tobago community is not necessarily reflected in the positions that the Prime Minister takes, that there's more to it than that,
Yeah. Well, forget the best being yet to come. The rest is yet to come. Thank you this morning. The rest is yet to come. Thank you, gentlemen. All the best this morning.
Yeah.
Okay,
my pleasure.
And Peter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Keishon. Good to see you.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Front Page was brought to you today by ABC Electrical Sales. For a better choice in the electrical business.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
8:02.
From the mountainside to seaside, countryside to townside, inside and outside, it's across Jamaica this morning.
In Across Jamaica today, Tuesday, January 6, 2026. Customers in Mavis Bank proper and sections of Top Road and St. Andrew are experiencing a disruption in their water supply. The National Water Commission says this is due to an issue with the chlorination equipment at the Kelly Spring facility. The company says it's working to have the issue resolved in the shortest possible time. The NWC has apologized for any inconvenience caused to its valued customers. The police in St. James are seeking the public's assistance locating a 54-year-old man who has been missing since December 13. He is Corey Minot of Railway Lane, Montego Bay. Minot is of dark complexion and slim build. Reports from the Mount Salem police are that Minot was last seen in his community about 8 a.m. on the day in question. His mode of dress at the time has not been confirmed. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Corey Minot is being asked to contact the Mount Salem Police Station at 876-952-3572, the Police Emergency 119 number, or the nearest police station. Also in St. James, lawmen are seeking the public's assistance to locate 30-year-old Anthony Smith of Dunbar Paradise. He has been missing since Saturday, December 27. Smith is of dark complexion and slim build. The Barnett Street Police report that he was last seen at home around 7:15 a.m. He was dressed in a multicolored shirt, gray jeans, and a yellow hat. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Anthony Smith is being asked to contact the Barnett Street Police Station at 876-952-4996, the Police Emergency 119 number, or the nearest police station. That's it for Across Jamaica.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today. Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Cliff Says is by far the most popular mid-morning radio segment in Jamaica. Cliff Hughes shares his views on the hot-button topics of the day. editorializing on various issues in the news, breaking news stories, and expounding on stories. Cliff Says sets the tone of the show for the rest of the day. Join the award-winning journalist Cliff Hughes weekdays during Cliff Hughes Online at 10 to 10:30 a.m. Join the revolution in media.
Cliff Says is brought to you by Educom Credit Union, providing value through service, and Hyundai, modern premium affordable vehicles.
Welcome back to Nationwide this morning, turning our attention now to earthquakes because it's Earthquake Awareness Month, and an earthquake is a sudden and rapid shaking of the ground caused by movement beneath the Earth's surface. Now, in many cases, injuries and deaths occur when people attempt to run or walk during the shaking or when they're struck by falling debris. If the ground starts to shake, do you know what to do? Earthquakes can happen anywhere, and they cannot be predicted. However, we can take steps to prepare and reduce the risk. So to discuss how to create an effective earthquake preparedness plan for both the family and the workplace, we're being joined by Public Education Officer at the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Superintendent Emilia Ebanks. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide this morning as we observe Earthquake Awareness Month. Now, Superintendent, why is it important for families in Jamaica to have an earthquake preparedness plan?
Well, if we look at our history in Jamaica, for some time now we've been hearing the experts say we are quote-unquote overdue for a big earthquake. We all know the dangers associated with earthquakes. You, in your opening a while ago, you spoke to some of it, and we would have seen, happenings in other countries from earthquakes. We can remember in our recent past in the Caribbean, the Haitian earthquake. And the devastation that was caused as a result of that. So it is always fresh in our minds as emergency providers, the dangers associated with earthquakes. And as a result of that, we have to make sure that we keep people up to date in terms of what they should do and what they should not do.
So let's break it into two. First, we'll deal with a family unit, a household, and then for a workplace. For a family unit, what should go into their earthquake preparedness plan?
You want to have water. A lot of persons, especially in Western Jamaica, would have seen the importance of having potable water, drinking water, non-perishable, food and stuff like that after the passage of the recent hurricane. So you want to have those things in your emergency kit. So you want to have bottles of water, you want to have non-perishable food, first aid equipment, flashlights, battery-powered radios. I know those are probably hard to find. And you need to have a sounding device like a whistle. And the main purpose of that, if you get trapped in anywhere, you want to have a sounding device that you can give deliberate sounds.
Yes.
where rescuers can say, all right, that is not an ordinary sound that we're hearing there. That is something coming from someone that is trapped. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that you have these things and you have them close by. So in the event of an earthquake and you're in the house, you can get to these things as soon as possible.
Right. So whistle, very important, non-perishable food items and water. That's for the family unit at home. But what about the workplace?
In a workplace setting, you want to have as much of those as possible as well. Because if we look at Jamaica, for example, let's look at the Kingston area. We have a lot of high-rise buildings where offices are being housed, workplaces are being housed.
Yes.
So in the event of an earthquake and one of these buildings should topple and persons are trapped, they want to have these things at their disposal. So the first aid kit, of course, as I said, and the non-perishable food items, the water, the non-perishable food items probably to a lesser extent, but you still want to have water, the flashlight, the battery-powered radio, and the warning device so persons can hear you.
Mm-hmm. And say, for example, I am not at home, I'm not at work, I'm probably somewhere walking, and the ground starts shaking. Remind persons what they're supposed to do in that instant.
Stay away or try to get away from tall buildings. A rule of thumb for me, if you can rest your hand down on a table and allow your hand to fall flat, think of a building like that, and the building should topple over onto the street. You want to make sure that as much as is possible, you are outside of the zone that building can fall. Mm-hmm. But tall trees, it's the same thing. You stay away from power lines, bridges, all of those things as much as is possible. Because what you don't want is for any of these things to topple or for a bridge to open up and you fall through. Also, if you are on the coastal areas, you have to watch out for liquefaction. That is the situation of what happened in Port Royal, for example, where you now have the soil and the water mixing and coming together and forming something that is like quicksand that you can get stuck in very, very easily. So if you are in any of those spaces, watch out for those things and try to stay away, as I said, from all of those things.
And I'm reminded as well, what if I'm at school? So for an administrator, school administration, what goes into their earthquake preparedness plan?
The same things that I mentioned earlier, but now the setting in the school is different because you will now have to, as quickly as possible after the shaking stops, get all the persons in this space out and get them to an area that is safe.
Yes.
So the school situation has to be that the students are aware of what to do, and certainly all the teachers or all the persons who will be coming in contact with the students know exactly what to do and how to get them to a place of safety.
So an earthquake drill is encouraged once a year, twice a year?
Twice per year, at least twice per year.
Twice per year. So.
And especially when you get new students coming in, they must be aware of what to do and where they are supposed to go. And of course, if you change teachers, the teachers must know as well what to do and how to get the students to a place of safety.
Does the fire brigade participate in earthquake drills in schools, or is it that you advise the administrators of what they're supposed to do when they're conducting a drill?
We participate along with the ODPM, which takes lead when it comes to earthquakes, but fires are generally secondary when it comes to earthquakes. For us in Jamaica, we don't have a lot of situations where we have gas lines running underground. However, let's look at the Kingston area again, especially the business district in Kingston. You have restaurants where the gas supply is someplace outside of the building and a distance away. So if you have a situation where one of those gas lines should rupture and you have buildings falling and electricity arcing and all of that, that is a situation that can start a fire. And if we remember after the Port Royal and the Kingston earthquake, we had a lot of pockets of fire popping up all over the place. So fires are generally secondary in earthquake scenarios.
And you've been talking a lot about what folks are supposed to do or what's supposed to be in their, entire preparedness plan if they're at work, school, home, you're out there. What common mistakes, though, Superintendent, do people make during earthquakes? And how can those mistakes be avoided?
The most common mistake is to start running when the shaking is going on.
Oh, some panic.
You do not panic. You do not run when the shaking is going on. What you need to do is to duck, cover, and hold. So you are going to fall to the ground, and you are going to, if you're in a situation in a building where you can have something sturdy to provide cover, you can do that. If not, you want to cover your head and the back of your neck with your hands, and you hold down, you go down in a crouching position. As I said, if something sturdy is there, a very sturdy table, something that you can hold on to, then you can, adopt that position, and then hold on to the foot of the table so that the table is not moving away while the shaking is taking place. But most important, do not panic and remember what it is that you plan to do, and remember the drill sequence and what to do during an earthquake.
Yes. So, any final words, Superintendent, before we let you go in observing Earthquake Awareness Month, the Fire Brigade carrying out any special activities during the rest of January?
We will be carrying out a number of activities. We'll be going into schools, workplaces, and all we ask persons to do, if you are in doubt of what to do, any at all, go into the nearest fire station. As I always say to people, the fire stations are yours. Go in and get the information. And of course, we'll be out there in the media, which is why we are grateful for this opportunity to speak to your listeners as well.
All right, so we'll look out for the Jamaica Fire Brigade during the course of January as we observe Earthquake Awareness Month. This morning, Superintendent Emilia Ebanks, the Public Education Officer at the JFB, was talking to us about our earthquake preparedness plan. Superintendent, thank you so much for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, going to take a break here on NTM, and we'll be back with more.
You ever hear Earthquake call and say, "Hello, Miss Lee, yes, it's me, Earthquake, coming Tuesday around 10? No, sir. Earthquake does arrive unannounced, and when it come, it shake all sense and sensibility out of we. Remain calm, stay inside, and do the DCH. Drop, cover, hold on. Once the shaking starts, you know it's earthquake. Make a quick move to a safe place. Don't run to the door, we are in the exit. Stairs might block up or full of people. Elevator, avoid that, because you might get in and poof, power gone, and you're stuck in that box without ear. Take cover under a strong table or a bed, or crouch against an inside wall or in a corner, and cover your face and your head with your arms. Remember, DCH. Drop, cover, hold on. Glass windows and doors, outside walls and doors, in an earthquake, bad news. Take for yourself. Most injuries during earthquakes happen when something drop and hit people entering or exiting a building. Last thing, nobody run outside and ask, you feel it, you feel it? Remain calm, stay indoors until all the shaking stop, and do the DCH. Drop, cover, hold on.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
8:20.
Data Protection Matters is brought to you by Design Privacy. We help you comply and build trust.
Happy New Year and welcome to the first show of 2026. This year, we're starting with a question. Not about resolutions, not about what the future holds, but about the past and what it means for the screen you're probably holding in your hand right now. This is Data Protection Matters, powered by Design Privacy, and I'm your host, Chuko Emeka Cameron. I want to take you back. The year is 1760. The air in Jamaica is thick with sugar and with fear. Taki's rebellion is raging, a war for freedom fought by enslaved Akan people who refused to accept that their lives belonged to someone else. And the colonial authorities, they are terrified. But their greatest fear isn't the violence, it's the communication, the secret, brilliant network of intelligence that flows between plantations, a network they cannot tap, a system they cannot own. They feared the drum, whose rhythms carried messages faster than a horse could gallop. They feared the Abeng horn, whose call could summon an army from the cane fields. They feared the spiritual practices they called Obia, which united people and gave them a shared sense of power beyond what chains could contain. They feared a knowledge system they could not own, a network they could not control, and so they wrote a law. That law, born of fear in 1760, was designed to do one thing: to sever the link between a person and their own knowledge, to declare their inner world, their beliefs, their spirit, their very identity as illegal. It was the first data breach, the original act of informational warfare, an assertion that the most intimate data a person has, their spirit, their knowledge, their sense of self, did not belong to them. That law did not die, it echoed. In 1898 it returned, stronger, more insidious. The new Obia law created something chilling, a reverse burden of proof. If you were found with what they called an instrument of Obia, a feather, a bottle, a piece of chalk, you were presumed guilty. Your identity was the evidence against you, not what you did, but who you were. It echoed again in 1917, Trinidad. The Shouters Prohibition Ordinance. For over 30 years, spiritual Baptists were silenced. Their mode of worship, their sound, their spiritual expression criminalized. It echoes today in the seemingly neutral language of noise abatement, a law that so often seems to find its noise in the heart of our communities, in the sound systems that are our modern-day talking drums. For centuries, the logic has been the same. Control the space, control the sound, control the knowledge, control the people. If your culture is deemed too loud, too strange, too powerful, it must be contained. You must be contained. And now, that echo has found a new home. It lives in the machine. You have felt it. Maybe you're an artist. You spend your weeks on a track. You pour your soul into it. You upload it, and it gets flagged. Hateful content, the algorithm says, because it can't tell the difference between our cultural slang and a genuine threat. Our expression becomes evidence against us. Or maybe it's reused content. Because you sampled a classic rhythm, you participated in the call and response that is the very essence of our musical tradition, and the machine called it theft. This isn't a technical glitch, it's a cultural one. It's the logic of 1898. Your identity as evidence against you, written in code. The platforms will tell you their rules are neutral. Their algorithms treat everyone equally. But who wrote those rules? Who trained those algorithms? Who decides what community standards mean? Not us, not the Caribbean, not the Global South. These rules were written in Silicon Valley, trained on data that doesn't understand our culture, our expressions, our way of being. One of our great Caribbean scholars, Sonia Stanley Nair, teaches us that our culture is a performance geography, a way of claiming space and identity through performance. From the slave ship to the dance hall, we have always created freedom through how we move, how we sound, how we occupy space. But what happens when that performance space is a digital platform, owned by a foreign company, governed by rules written by people who don't understand our performance? We are forced to negotiate with a ghost that speaks the language of terms of service and community guidelines, but whose logic was written in colonial code 260 years ago. A logic that says your expression, your identity, your data is not truly yours to control. Imagine you send a message from your phone, a digital postcard from your home right here in Jamaica. You think it goes directly to your friend down the road or to your family in Trinidad, a straight line, but it doesn't. In a fraction of a second, that message travels along a submarine cable on the ocean floor to a vast coal building in Virginia, or Dublin, or Singapore. And in that building, your digital postcard is subject to another country's law. There's something called the U.S. Cloud Act. It gives American authorities the power to access data stored by American companies, no matter where in the world that data comes from, no matter what your own country's laws say. Your private message, your business communication, your personal photograph, it can be opened and read without a warrant from a Caribbean or Jamaican court, without your knowledge, without your consent. Our data, like our ancestors, is being taken overseas and put to work for someone else. The digital plantation runs on our clicks, our creativity, our connections. We produce the value, they own the infrastructure, they own the data. This is where the old fight and the new fight meet, because what is digital sovereignty? It sounds big, abstract, but it's not. At its heart, digital sovereignty is a sovereignty of the individual. The simple idea that you are the owner of your own information, your data, your identity, your digital self. It belongs to you. We're not powerless in this fight. We have a shield. It is called the Data Protection Act. Our own law, passed right here, built on a principle, the right to informational privacy. It declares that your personal data is yours, not the platforms, not the corporations, not of foreign governments, but yours. The law gives you rights, real enforceable rights. The right to access, to ask any company, what information do you hold on me? Show me. The right to rectification, to demand they correct it if it's wrong. My truth, not your assumptions. The right to erasure, to tell them, delete it. I revoke my consent, my data, my choice. It is a legal declaration that the individual, not the corporation, not the foreign state, is a sovereign of their own digital life. This act is our modern-day response to the logic of 1760. It is a legal shield that protects the sovereignty of the individual, the sovereignty of each and every one of us. That is what this show is about, and that's what this year is about. The echo of 1716 is a machine. The first act of resistance is to hear it. The second is to remember the shield we have built to protect ourselves. And the third is to remember the sound of the drum they tried and failed to silence. This has been Data Protection Matters. I'm Chukwuemeka Cameron. Welcome to 2026. Stay informed, stay protected, and most importantly, stay sovereign.
Data Protection Matters was brought to you by Design Privacy. We help you comply and build trust.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Cliff Says is by far the most popular mid-morning radio segment in Jamaica. Cliff Hughes shares his views on the hot-button topics of the day, editorializing on various issues in the news, breaking news stories, and expounding on stories. Cliff Says sets the tone of the show for the rest of the day. Join the award-winning journalist Cliff Hughes weekdays during Cliff Hughes Online at 10 to 10:30 a.m. Join the revolution in media.
Cliff Says is brought to you by Educom Credit Union, providing value through service. And Hyundai, modern premium affordable vehicles.
News on the go. The latest stories from Jamaica and around the world are literally a finger tap away. Keep up to date with Teen Revolution 24 hours a day online via nationwideradiojm.com. Listen live, read the latest stories, hear every soundbite. Be a part of the vibrant online debate via Facebook and Twitter. Now you can get all your favorite premium nationwide content at your convenience. Visit the Android Play Store and download it for free today. nationwideradiojm.com. All day, every day. Team Revolution.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis, weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Ever wondered how to spot a scam before it drains your account? Or how Jamaica's top financial crime fighters track down the money? Join the Financial Investigations Division on Nationwide this morning, every first and third Friday at 8:20 a.m. for FID in Action, an informative, engaging feature designed to keep you and your money safe. Learn practical tips to help you spot, prevent, and report financial crimes. Understand how the FID protects the financial system. That's FID in Action, protecting you, preventing financial crime. On Nationwide this morning, every first and third Friday at 8:20 a.m. Brought to you by the Financial Investigations Division.
Welcome back to Nationwide this morning. Time for A Healthier You. Now, glaucoma is a group of eye conditions that damage the optic nerve, often caused by increased pressure in the eye. It can lead to irreversible vision loss, especially peripheral or sight vision, and is known as the silent thief of sight because it often shows no early symptoms. For a discussion on glaucoma awareness and treatment, I'm being joined by a consultant ophthalmologist at Cornwall Regional Hospital and the current president of the Ophthalmology Society of Jamaica, Dr. Amoy Ramsey. Good morning, Dr. Ramsey.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. All is well?
All is well so far.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Who's most at risk of developing glaucoma, and how early should screening begin? You'd recommend?
Okay. So for our country, our Afro-Caribbean country, we are all at risk as we get older. So being older, the older population is at a greater risk of developing glaucoma. And so being Afro-Caribbean, there's a greater risk of developing glaucoma. So just by being Jamaican or Afro-Caribbean, that's already a risk factor. So I would recommend over 40 and older to always get screened for glaucoma. And if you have a strong family history, you should start at 35 or thereabouts.
All right. So the word, it says it's dubbed as the silent thief of sight. So even before screening out, so say for instance you're 45, you've never done a screening before. What are some of the things that if you notice them, you should seek an assessment immediately?
All right. So based on the definition, well, glaucoma, there are different types of glaucoma, right? So for the most common one, which is primary open-angle glaucoma, there are actually no symptoms until it's very advanced. So it's a loss of peripheral vision. So you can be 20/20 and still have advanced glaucoma. So for those patients, I would say based on age. So once you're over 40, you should just actually start getting your eyes checked. You check the pressure. We may do a visual field test based on your family history or what we have noticed based on your eye examination.
It's funny, when I was, back in the day, I always thought that glaucoma was an old people issue and not necessarily something that afflicted young people. When I said old people, I'm talking about people 70 and over, 60, 70s up. Is that a mistake to think that it only affects people within that band?
I totally agree. It is not only patients over that age. So that's why when we're picking it up at 70 and 80, that's when it's advanced. So it's better for you to start checking your eyes at about 40, so we can pick it up earlier, so we can prevent blindness.
The diagnosis... Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, right. I was saying that the diagnosis of glaucoma and treatment options available. Discuss some of those for me.
All right, so the diagnosis, for true diagnosis of glaucoma, you should have, the eye examined. You should have what we call a visual field test. So you sit at a machine and you press a button, and that will tell us how the nerve is working. We check the intraocular pressure of the eye. Now, as we mentioned before, there are different types of glaucoma. So primary open angle is the one with the increased intraocular pressure. There's also normal tension, so you can have glaucoma and the pressure in the eyes are normal. However, the nerve is abnormal when you check the function of it. And then you have the one that it's very high pressure, and this one is the one with the symptoms, and that is acute angle closure glaucoma. There are also other risk factors like trauma, which puts you at risk for secondary glaucoma. So there are also different types of glaucoma. So that's why it's important for you to check the eyes on a regular basis.
And when
treatment therapies,
pardon? Yeah, right. You were talking about treatment options, yeah.
All right. So treatments usually start with topical or eye drops. There's also laser therapy. You have different types of laser therapy. And there's also surgical intervention.
The kind of trauma to the eye that would cause glaucoma to set in, does it have to be immediate trauma, or maybe someone said, when I was young and I was playing football, I fell and I hit my face, and years later, something developed by virtue of that impact injury at the time. Does it work like that, or it has to be immediate trauma?
It can be long-standing. So patients who have had elbow hit, punched in the eye, buckle injury, bottle stopper injuries, bottle tops, various types of injury can cause you to have secondary glaucoma. And so, yes, it can be short-term in the acute setting, and it can also happen in the longer term or long-term.
Yeah, based on what you've described, some people would say, why, this is an inevitability, you can't escape it. But can individuals do anything to reduce the risk and protect their vision?
Right. So for secondary glaucoma, sure, in terms of wearing proper protective eyewear when you're cutting the lawn, certain sporting events. So for primary open angle, that's usually family history. So we should be aware of our family history or risk factors being Caribbean, that that's already a risk. As we get older, that's also a risk, right? Persons who have had trauma that I mentioned before. So you should check. The earlier you check, the greater the chance of you not losing your sight. because there's so many interventions and options. And the treatment therapies are much better now than then. And all intervention, all treatments are available across the island.
Right. And where treatment is concerned, Dr. Ramsey, are you, the patient being treated, does the eyesight improve to optimum levels, or does the treatment only manage these symptoms so you can have a normal functioning life?
All right. So for glaucoma, it's not about in terms of visual acuity in the early stages. So you can have 20/20 vision and have advanced glaucoma. What we're trying to do with drops and other therapy is to reduce it from progressing. So you can have a normal life if caught early.
Hear you on that. So the onus is on checking, especially if you have a family history. Do your checks, do your tests, and of course follow the guidance given to you by your medical professional.
Correct.
Excellent. All right, Dr. Ramsey, that's all the time we have. Thank you this morning for stopping by, and I wish you all the best for 2026.
All the best to you too.
All right.
Thank you.
Consultant ophthalmologist at Cornwall Regional Hospital and president of the Ophthalmology Society of Jamaica, Dr. Amor Ramsey, talking about glaucoma, the silent thief of sight, shows no early symptoms. It's a group of eye conditions that damage the optic nerve, often caused by increased pressure in the eye.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
8:43.
she went away, Rosanna, yeah. Now she's gone, and I have to say, shine through the window on the other side. Rosanna, Rosanna, I didn't know that a girl like you could make me feel so sad. Rosanna. She's gone, and I have to say, meet you all the way, meet you all the way, Rosanna, yeah. Meet you all the way, meet you all the way.
It's birthday time here on Nationwide this morning. Want to look at the Facebook list first. And I see David Cooks celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, David. Happy birthday to Cultured Gold. It's the birthday of Georgia Crawford. Yeah, Georgia Crawford, formerly of Nationwide 90 FM. Good morning, Georgia. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Nadia Golding. Happy birthday, Nadia. Imani Lisa Andre, today's your birthday. Have a good one. Gail Daly celebrating a birthday today, January 6th. So too is Roberta Lamoth, Brittany Trendy, Anna K. Williams, Fiona Yolanda Wright, Nicolette Brown, Denden Everbless, Casey and Roden, Jamila Rookwood, Tracy Bless Williams, Hermes Sotheby, and Horace Cooper. All of those people celebrating birthdays today, January 6th. In the YouTube chat, I see people sending greetings to Fabian Smith, one of our regular contributors. So Fabian Smith, today is your birthday. Happy birthday to you, sir. Wishing you all the best for the year ahead. I see Rosie Watts sending wedding anniversary greetings to Mr. Rohan and Mrs. Gay Ross. Rohan and Gay Ross, happy second wedding anniversary coming from Rosie Watt. May God continue to bless your marriage with love and laughter. Have a great one, she says. I see Kirkland Thames sending happy birthday greetings to Sitara from the Byfield, Thames and NMIA family. So Sitara, today's your birthday, Sitara. And Kirkland Thames sending the greetings on behalf of the Byfield, Thames and NMIA family. Yeah, have a good day, Sitara. Vron Jacks Pinnock says, happy birthday greetings to my sister Marcine Tyne in Manchonil, Portland, from other sisters Lorna and Arlene, hubby Horace aka Zappo, Jail and Javan Pinnock. Yeah, so Marcine Tyne, Manchonil, Portland, happy birthday coming to you from the whole family. Let's see. Happy birthday to my cousin Shanna Clark, says Fabian Smith. So Fabian Smith's cousin Shanna Clark is celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday to you, Shanna. Veron Jacks again says, oh, that was the one for her sister earlier. She put it twice just in case I missed it. Bless Girl says, sending birthday wishes to Tony, aka Short Boss from Back Pasture St. Catherine. Heart of love from your sister Jackie and your nephew Don J. So Back Pasture St. Catherine is where Short Boss lives, aka Tony, and your sister Jackie and your nephew Don J sending heart of love to you on this year day. I saw one from Garwin Dixon. I'm trying to find it. Garwin Dixon. Where did I find it? Alright, it will come back. Well, Garwin Dixon was sending a greeting. So let me say, Melody Cook says, happy birthday to my nephew, Devon Robinson from Coleyville in Manchester. Wishing you a great day, Devon Robinson. Coleyville in Manchester, your auntie Melody Cook says, happy birthday to you. Trisha Bromfield says, wishing myself a very happy 40th birthday today. So happy birthday, Trisha. 40th, fabulous, I'm sure. All the best to you on this day. Ellerine Rich says, happy birthday to my granddaughter, Leanna Taff, on her 8th birthday. So Leanna Taff, you're 8 years old, and your grandma is sending happy birthday greetings to you on this day. Let me see this one. Oh yes, so Garwin Dixon says, happy 2nd wedding anniversary to Garwin and Chanel Dixon. So Garwin and Chanel Dixon celebrating a 2nd wedding anniversary, and Mr. Dixon has sent the greeting to us. Annie Smith says, big up Stephen the Genius McGregor on his birthday, which is today, and she's tagging Big Ship in the comment. Big Ship, of course, the label owned by Stephen's father, Freddie. So Stephen the Genius McGregor, happy birthday to you, sir. And Annie Smith would have been the one, had to be the one to point that out to us. Any more? Let me see. All right, Jermaine, turn up your tune then.
I'm really sorry for acting that way. I'm really sorry. Ooh, little girl, I'm really sorry for telling you lies for so long. Oh, please forgive me, girl. Come on, won't you forgive me, girl? Hey. Forgive me, girl. Come on, forgive me, girl. I want you over and
over. All right, 8:55, time for us to say goodbye goodbye from NTM. Tana will be here with Consumer Hour, so it's sitting in for Nora Gay Banton, who's off on some vacation, well-deserved break. Hope you're enjoying yourself, Nora. So I want to say thanks this morning to Kimon Thompson, a news editor on duty. Thanks to Michelle McRae Smith, producer. Thanks to Jermaine King on the technical side. And thanks to all of you for sharing and supporting Nationwide this morning. Today, you have made us number one, and we continue to work to bring you news, entertainment, to give you information, and to just keep your company in the morning as you get about your daily activities. All right, so ring the bell to signal that one thing is finished, one thing is over, and a new thing is gonna start soon.
You've just heard Nationwide this morning on Nationwide 90 FM.
And you can rock her back.